One Instagram comment exposed my boyfriend's hidden lies and destroyed everything he'd been hiding. My name is Claire Bennett, and I was 27 when one Instagram comment ended a relationship that had been quietly falling apart for months. People think relationships end with explosive fights or dramatic betrayals. Mine ended because my boyfriend publicly announced he was single, and instead of arguing, I simply believed him. Looking back, the post wasn't the beginning. It was the moment I stopped ignoring everything I'd been trying to explain away. Ethan Walker and I had been together for 3 years and living together in downtown Phoenix for the last one. We looked like a couple headed toward marriage. We hosted friends, shared grocery runs, argued over movies, and talked about the future while our families kept asking when we'd finally get engaged. I believed we were building a life together. I just didn't realize Ethan had started looking elsewhere for validation. The changes came so gradually that I kept finding excuses for them. Ethan went out more often, hid his phone whenever it buzzed, and seemed more interested in photographing our life than actually living it. Then came the comments. "You've gotten predictable. You never surprise me anymore. You've become too comfortable." None of them sounded cruel alone, but together they slowly convinced me I wasn't enough. I tried harder by planning trips, booking restaurants, buying concert tickets, and leaving handwritten notes in his lunch, yet nothing changed. The more effort I poured into our relationship, the more attention he seemed to seek from everyone else. About 3 weeks before everything collapsed, I noticed several photos of us had quietly disappeared from his Instagram, just enough to make him look single. When I asked why, he barely looked up from his phone. "I'm cleaning up my feed." I accepted the explanation because trusting someone is easier than admitting your instincts are probably right. Everything finally unraveled on an ordinary Tuesday. During lunch, I opened Instagram and saw Ethan's newest post. A perfectly staged coffee photo with one caption. "Single until someone earns my love." I read it several times hoping I'd misunderstood. 3 years together. 1 year living together. Yet according to thousands of strangers, my boyfriend was single. I didn't cry or call him. I scrolled through the comments instead. People offered sympathy, women left heart emojis, and for the first time all day, I felt completely calm. I commented 4 simple words. "Best of luck." Then I changed my Facebook relationship status to joyfully single, tagged Ethan publicly, and left it there without another word. If he wanted the world to believe he was single, I wasn't going to contradict him. Within a minute, his Instagram post disappeared. My phone immediately exploded with calls from Ethan, Tara, his mother, and several mutual friends asking what had happened. I ignored every one of them, finished lunch, and returned to work. The rest of the afternoon passed quietly, despite my phone lighting up every few minutes. When I got home that evening, Ethan was already waiting in the living room. What the hell was that? I set down my keys and met his stare. "My relationship status. You embarrassed me. I thought I was supporting your announcement." "You knew that post wasn't serious. Then why post it?" "It was just a quote." "So was the relationship?" He rubbed his face in frustration. "Claire, every guy posts stupid things online. Every guy in a committed relationship tells everyone he's single. You're twisting this." "No, you did that yourself." His tone softened. "You could have talked to me first." "I could have, but you could have remembered you had a girlfriend before telling the internet you didn't." He looked away. It didn't mean anything. That hurt more than the post itself. If pretending I didn't exist meant nothing, what exactly had our relationship meant? Instead of answering, he grabbed an overnight bag. "I'm staying at Tara's. As long as you need." He paused, clearly expecting me to stop him. "You're not even going to fight for us?" I shook my head. "I don't think I'm the one who walked away today." He stood there for a moment without another argument. "You'll realize you're overreacting." "I hope one of us does." The door slammed behind him, leaving the apartment completely quiet. I didn't cry or chase after him. I simply stood there, exhausted, as though I'd finally set down a weight I'd been carrying for far too long. I ordered Thai food, changed into comfortable clothes, and tried distracting myself with an old movie. My phone rang non-stop for nearly an hour before everything suddenly went quiet. Just before midnight, one new notification appeared. It wasn't Ethan. It wasn't his mother. It was Nathan Brooks, a friend who worked with Ethan. "Claire, there's something about Ethan you deserve to know." I stared at the message for a long moment before opening it. "Are you home?" "Yeah." A few seconds later, another message appeared. "I don't think you know everything that's been happening at work." I called him immediately. "I've been debating whether to tell you this," Nathan admitted. "It's about Ethan and Olivia." My stomach tightened. "What about her?" "They've been having a lunch together almost every day for over a month." The timeline hit me instantly. It matched the moment Ethan had started hiding his phone, acting distant, and quietly deleting our photos online. "I'm not saying they're having an affair," Nathan continued carefully, "but everyone at the office assumes they're back together." I closed my eyes. Did Ethan ever correct anyone? Nathan didn't answer. He didn't need to. After we hung up, I opened Ethan's Instagram. The single post was gone, but something else stood out. Olivia had liked nearly every photo he'd posted for months and regularly left comments filled with inside jokes that only made sense to two people with history. Then I noticed the pattern. Every photo Ethan had deleted featured me. Everything else remained. I quietly took screenshots, not because I wanted revenge, but because I suddenly understood that memories can be questioned. Evidence can't. The following afternoon, Ethan finally texted. "Can we talk?" I replied with a single sentence. "Sure. Should Olivia come too, or is this just us?" He read the message immediately. There was no denial, no explanation, and no reply. His silence told me more than any confession could. The next evening, someone knocked on my apartment door. Ethan stood outside with his mother, Margaret, his sister, Lauren, and Tara. For a second, it felt less like a visit and more like an intervention. Margaret smiled politely. "Claire, can we come in?" Once everyone sat down, she cleared her throat. "Ethan told us there was a misunderstanding." "You mean the part where he announced he was single?" I asked. She gave a strained laugh. "Young people post silly things online. I didn't realize pretending your girlfriend didn't exist counted as silly." Tara jumped in. "You're blowing this out of proportion." It was just a quote. So was my comment. Lauren leaned forward. "You're focusing on the wrong issue. Ethan loves you." I looked at him. "Do you?" "Of course." "Then why have you been having lunch with Olivia every day?" His expression changed instantly. "We're just friends." "Every day." He hesitated. Margaret tried to rescue him. "She's been going through a difficult time. So pretending to be single was your way of helping?" No one answered. I opened my phone, placed it on the coffee table, and quietly scrolled through the screenshots of deleted couple photos, Olivia's comments, and their daily lunch schedule. No accusations, just facts. The room grew noticeably quieter. Finally, I asked if nothing inappropriate was happening. "Why did you erase every photo that proved you were in a relationship?" Ethan stared at the floor before quietly admitting, "I liked knowing Olivia still wanted me." Even Tara looked shocked. "I wasn't going to leave you," he added. "I know," I replied. "You just wanted both. Someone waiting at home while someone else reminded you that you still had options." Margaret immediately defended him. "He never cheated. Maybe not physically," I said, "but loyalty usually disappears long before people do." No one argued. After several uneasy minutes, Margaret stood and motioned for everyone to leave. Ethan lingered by the door. "You're really ending 3 years over one pose?" I shook my head. "I'm ending 3 years because that post finally matched the way you'd already been treating me. You'll regret this." I opened the door. "No, you'll regret making me realize I deserved better." He left without another word. The apartment fell quiet again, but the peace didn't last. The following morning, I received a LinkedIn message from Olivia. "Hi Claire, I think Ethan lied to both of us. Would you be willing to talk?" Curiosity won. "Call me after 6. When she called, she didn't make excuses. "Ethan told me your relationship had basically been over for months," she said. "He claimed you were only staying together because of the lease." Another lie. The lease had always been in my name. "He said you'd stopped acting like a couple, so I believed him." "What changed?" "He panicked after your Instagram comment. He called me begging me to delete every comment I'd left on his photos because, in his words, Claire wasn't supposed to find out like this." That confirmed what I'd already suspected. The Instagram post wasn't a mistake. It was part of a plan that happened too soon. Before hanging up, Olivia sent me screenshots of weeks of conversations. They weren't romantic, but they revealed exactly what Ethan had been hiding. He complained about me, admitted she was the easiest person to talk to, and even wrote, "Wish we'd reconnected sooner." He had been leaving our relationship emotionally long before he walked out of it. The following weekend, Ethan made things official with Olivia. Friends kept sending me screenshots asking if I was okay. I was. Watching him move on so quickly erased the last bit of doubt I had left. But the relationship didn't last. 2 nights later, my cousin Riley, who bartended downtown, called. I just watched the most awkward first date I've ever seen. Ethan and Olivia. Bingo. He spent 2 hours talking about you instead of her. According to Riley, Olivia finally looked at him and asked, "Are you actually over Claire?" Whatever Ethan said wasn't enough. She stood, picked up her purse, and quietly replied, "I'm not leaving because of Claire. I'm leaving because you never actually left her." The next morning, Ethan texted, "Can we talk?" I replied with 5 words. "How's Olivia?" He read the message immediately. He never answered. That afternoon, I renewed my climbing gym membership, something I'd given up because Ethan always complained it took time away from us. After my workout, I caught my reflection in the lobby mirror and realized I was smiling for the first time in weeks. Later that evening, I posted a simple photo after finishing a climb. No filters, no revenge message, just messy hair, a tired smile, and one caption. "Peace looks better than pretending." Within an hour, friends, family, and co-workers had filled the post with likes. Then Nathan texted, "Looks like Ethan blocked you." I laughed. I thought he already made himself single. Nathan replied almost immediately, Apparently, he still doesn't like seeing you happy. The next morning, Lauren sent me a message. That post was unnecessary. I answered with one sentence. So was pretending my relationship never existed. She never replied. Life gradually settled into something peaceful again. I worked, went climbing, enjoyed quiet evenings, and for the first time in months, I slept through the night. Then, late one Friday, my apartment intercom buzzed. The security guard sounded uncertain. Ms. Bennett, there's a man downstairs asking if you'll let him up. Who? It's Ethan. I stepped onto my balcony and saw him standing outside with 2 large suitcases. 3 weeks earlier, that sight would have shattered me. Now I only wondered why it had taken him so long. The guard asked again, should I send him away? I looked down one last time before answering. I'll come downstairs. When the elevator doors opened, Ethan's face lit up with relief until he realized I wasn't smiling. Claire, I stopped several feet away. What happened? He glanced at the suitcases. I just needed to see you. I noticed. Can we talk upstairs? No, it's freezing. I'll survive. He studied my face for a long moment before quietly saying, Olivia ended things. I'm sorry it didn't work out. Surprise flashed across his face. That's all you have to say? What were you expecting? I thought you'd ask what happened. I already know what happened. You don't see it yet. He looked genuinely confused. She realized you wanted her attention. You never stopped carrying pieces of your old relationship into the new one, I said quietly. His shoulders slumped. She told you. My cousin watched your date. He said you spent the whole evening talking about me. Ethan looked away. It wasn't like that. It rarely is. After a long silence, he admitted Tara had asked him to leave, Olivia had blocked him, and even his mother thought he'd made a mistake. I shook my head. You miss certainty. You miss having someone who always forgave you. I miss you. Those aren't always the same thing. I made a mistake. I can fix it. I deleted Olivia, apologized to everyone, and told people we were getting back together. I stared at him. You announced our reconciliation before asking whether I wanted one. His expression slowly fell. You thought I'd still be waiting. I know I hurt you, but 3 years has to mean something. It does. It taught me exactly what I won't accept anymore. His voice cracked. I still love you. I believe you think you do, but loving someone isn't the same as protecting them. I never wanted to hurt you. But you were willing to risk it. Frustration finally replaced guilt. So one stupid decision ends everything? I met his eyes. It wasn't one decision. It was months of choices. You gave your emotional energy to someone else while expecting me to stay exactly where you left me. He ran a hand through his hair. I've apologized. You've explained. Those aren't the same thing. He fell silent. Finally, he asked, So, that's it? I nodded. That's it? I don't have anywhere else to go. I'm sorry you're struggling, but you can't stay here. His expression hardened. So you're throwing me away? No, you left. I'm just refusing to pretend you didn't. His voice rose. I helped build this home. It was our home, I replied. You erased us long before I changed my relationship status. You'll never find another guy who loved you like I did. I smiled. I hope not. At that moment, my neighbor, Sam, walked into the lobby carrying groceries. Everything okay? I'm fine. He glanced at Ethan. The boyfriend? Ex-boyfriend. Ethan immediately protested. I still live here. Sam raised an eyebrow. The security desk seemed to think otherwise. Ignoring him, Ethan turned back to me. You owe me one chance. No, we both spent 3 years building something. You're the one who decided to see if something better was waiting. For the first time, he looked completely defeated. Before either of us spoke again, the security supervisor approached. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the property. Ethan looked at me one last time. I really thought you'd forgive me. I know. Why won't you? Because forgiveness isn't the same as giving someone another chance to hurt me. He quietly picked up his suitcases. Halfway to the exit, he stopped. You'll regret this. I shook my head. No, I already survived the hardest part. The doors closed behind him. The next morning, before I even reached work, Nathan called. Claire, you need to see what Ethan's been posting. By the time I parked outside my office, friends were already asking if I was okay. I assumed he'd posted another vague quote. Instead, he'd started an entire video series. Dating after toxic relationships. Ethan's first video opened with dramatic piano music. I stayed too long because I thought love meant sacrificing your peace. He never mentioned my name, but anyone who knew us understood exactly who he was talking about. Strangers flooded the comments praising his courage, unaware they were applauding a story built on half-truths. I closed the app and went back to work. By lunchtime, Nathan sent another link. Ethan had uploaded a video titled 5 Signs You're Dating a Narcissist, hinting that I couldn't handle his independence. The irony would have been funny if it weren't so pathetic. A little later, Lauren messaged me. "Can we please stop doing this publicly?" I replied with one sentence. "I've never said a single negative thing about your brother online." She never answered. That evening, I was added to a group chat with Ethan, his parents, Tara, Lauren, and several mutual friends. Margaret opened with, "We're worried about how hostile this has become." Ethan added, "I just want peace." Then his father, Thomas, wrote, "Claire, I'd like to hear your side." So I posted nothing but evidence. Ethan's single until someone earns my love post, my best of luck comment, my updated relationship status, Olivia's messages explaining he'd lied to both of us, and finally his own admission that he liked knowing Olivia still wanted him. The chat fell silent. Eventually Lauren admitted, "I didn't know he'd said that." Margaret tried defending him, but Thomas replied before I could. Being emotional doesn't change what happened. When Ethan claimed I was taking everything out of context, I answered with one question, then explained the context. He never did. A few minutes later, Thomas apologized to me and quietly left the group. Everyone else followed. Later that night, he called. "I should have asked questions before believing Ethan," he admitted. His mother spent years protecting him from consequences, and I kept hoping he'd eventually grow out of it. He never had to. By the time we hung up, I felt more sympathy for Thomas than anger toward Ethan. A few days later, Tara asked to meet for coffee. "I owe you an apology," she said. "I thought this was another misunderstanding." "What changed?" "He moved into my apartment." I almost smiled. "You lasted 2 weeks. 13 days. She rubbed her forehead. "He talked about you constantly. He never accepted the breakup. He only accepted the inconvenience." Then she revealed something worse. Olivia hadn't been the first woman. Whenever our relationship hit a rough patch, Ethan quietly reconnected with old co-workers, women from the gym, or former classmates. None became full relationships. They were simply reminders that someone else was available if he ever needed an escape. Everything suddenly made sense. Before we left, Tara stopped me. "There's one more thing." I waited. "Ethan found out where you work. He and Margaret think if they tell your company you're emotionally abusive, they'll damage your reputation." "When?" "Monday morning." Friday evening gave me exactly 1 weekend to prepare. Before leaving, Tara quietly said, "For what it's worth, you deserved better from the beginning." I smiled. Sometimes it takes the wrong person to prove that. That night I organized every screenshot in chronological order. Ethan's Instagram post, Olivia's messages, his conversations, and his own admission that he liked knowing Olivia still wanted him. I printed 2 copies, then backed everything up to the cloud before leaving the originals at home. If Ethan came to my office on Monday, I wasn't going to rely on memory. I was going to rely on evidence. At 8:15 Monday morning, I walked into Human Resources carrying a single folder. Karen, our HR manager, listened carefully as I explained that my ex-boyfriend might come to the office and falsely accuse me of emotional abuse. After reviewing the screenshots, she immediately understood the situation. "Thank you for telling us before anything happened," she said. "Reception and security will be notified. If anyone arrives asking for you without an appointment, they won't get past the lobby." For the first time all weekend, I felt genuinely relieved. Around 9:30, reception called. "They're here." Karen and I walked to the security office overlooking the lobby. Ethan and his mother Margaret were arguing with the receptionist and demanding to speak with my department director. According to Karen, they were claiming I was emotionally unstable and creating problems at work. The receptionist remained calm and asked them to leave. When they refused, 2 security officers stepped in. "I need to explain what she's really like," Ethan insisted. "You've been asked to leave," one officer replied. Margaret raised her voice, accusing me of manipulating her son, but security calmly warned that they would be escorted out if they continued refusing. At that moment, Ethan looked up and saw me standing beside Karen behind the glass. He understood immediately. I wasn't hiding or panicking. I'd already prepared for this. Without another argument, security escorted both of them out of the building. Karen turned to me. "You okay?" I let out a slow breath. "I think so. Our legal department will send them a cease and desist letter this afternoon," she said. "They're not permitted to contact you at work again." I thanked her and returned to my meeting. A week later, Ethan uploaded another video, but this time almost no one paid attention. His audience had begun asking questions instead of offering sympathy. People began pushing back in Ethan's comments. "Weren't you the guy who announced you were single while still living with your girlfriend? Didn't your ex ever respond?" Someone even reposted a screenshot of the Instagram post he'd deleted weeks earlier. Others noticed that every video blamed someone else. The audience he'd hoped to build slowly disappeared because people eventually lose interest in stories that don't match reality. A few days later, Nathan called. Ethan got written up. For what? He keeps missing work, arguing with co-workers, and filming videos instead of doing his job. After Olivia privately admitted the truth to several colleagues, office gossip spread quickly. Once people started questioning one story, they questioned all of them. 2 weeks later, Thomas called with unexpected news. "Margaret and I are separating." He sounded exhausted. I've spent years cleaning up everyone's mess. I finally realized I wasn't helping. I hope Ethan figures himself out someday, I said. So do I, Thomas replied. I just hope no one else has to pay the price first. Months passed and life became wonderfully ordinary. I worked, climbed 3 evenings a week, spent more time with friends, and slowly stopped measuring my happiness by someone else's approval. One Saturday at the climbing gym, I struggled to finish a route when a man below called up. Shift your left foot. Trust it. I followed his advice and reached the top. When I climbed down, he introduced himself. Daniel Brooks. Claire. He smiled. You looked ready to declare war on that wall. I laughed. So did the wall. That was how we met. Over the next few weeks, we kept running into each other until one evening we grabbed coffee after climbing. We talked for nearly an hour about books, travel, work, and everything except relationships. On the drive home, I realized I'd spent an entire evening enjoying someone's company without wondering whether they wished they were somewhere else. As the months passed, coffee became hikes, hikes became dinners, and being together simply felt easy. Daniel never questioned who liked my photos or needed strangers to validate our relationship. One evening over dinner, he smiled and said, I should probably tell you something. Oh, my relationship status online is completely accurate. I burst out laughing. I appreciate the honesty. It shouldn't be impressive. No, I agreed. It shouldn't. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. For the first time in years, I wasn't fighting for someone's attention. I simply felt chosen. A month later, Nathan shared one final update. Ethan had been fired after repeated absences, workplace conflicts, and letting his personal life spill into the office. Tara asked him to move out. Thomas finalized his divorce, and Lauren quietly posted about accountability without mentioning her brother. Only Margaret continued insisting everyone else had ruined Ethan's life. Nearly a year after everything began, Instagram suggested Ethan's profile. His newest post showed a carefully edited selfie beneath one familiar caption. Single by choice. Healing. Becoming the best version of myself. One comment stood out beneath the post. Weren't you trying to move back in with your ex a few months ago? By the next morning, the entire post had disappeared. I slipped my phone into my pocket and stepped onto my apartment balcony. The city lights stretched across the Phoenix skyline, glowing beneath the warm summer air. People sometimes ask whether I regret commenting. Best of luck. I don't. Those 4 words weren't meant to hurt him. They simply acknowledged what he'd already chosen. I stopped trying to hold on to someone who had already let go and finally made room for the life waiting beyond him. I stayed there a little longer before turning back inside and quietly closing the balcony door behind me. The city lights continued to shimmer outside. When Ethan announced he was single, I simply believed him. It turned out to be the most honest thing he'd said in months.